My husband, Michael, is a partner in an investment firm. At 35, he is high-spirited, and outsiders always see him with envy. He likes to wear sharp suits, drink black coffee, and read financial news at breakfast. His world is calm, precise, and controlling, and I am like a soft cushion in his world. There is a client's reception tonight, and I may be home later. He put down his coffee cup and said to me as usual. I nodded and smiled softly. Okay, I'll save some dinner for you. I've heard this conversation too many times. 10 years of marriage have taught me to stop asking and complaining. After all, I keep telling myself that he is fighting for our family outside. However, that morning, when the doorbell rang, my life took a subtle turn. I put down the coffee pot in my hand and quickly walked to open the door. The moment the door was pushed open, I saw a familiar and long-lost figure, my sister, Lily. Surprise! She was wearing a short denim jacket, long chestnut hair was casually draped, and her eyes were as bright as seawater in the sun. Lily! I almost cried out, and a long-lost joy welled up in my heart. I hugged her with open arms and couldn't help laughing. Aren't you still interning in California? Why are you suddenly back? She shrugged lightly, with a characteristic willfulness and freedom of young people. Tired of life over there. I want to come back and rest. By the way, I will accompany you more. I was so excited that I pulled her into the house and said happily, great. There are rooms at home, so you can stay in the guest room as long as you want. After breakfast, Michael hurried out the door and nodded at Lily as he left, which seemed polite, but made me feel more confused. But I just took it as a natural reaction to a long absence and didn't think much about it. In the evening, I was busy preparing dinner in the kitchen, chopping vegetables, seasoning, and arranging plates. I hummed a brisk ditty tune, and my heart was filled with warm satisfaction. Being able to live with my sister again was like returning to the carefree days of the past. I thought my life would be more complete because of Lily's arrival, but when I walked out of the kitchen, I saw Lily sitting in the garden. She was wearing a suspender skirt, stepping barefoot on the grass, holding a glass of red wine in her hand. The setting sun reflected on her face, and she raised her head slightly, with a faint smile on the corner of her mouth. She said something softly, but I didn't hear it clearly, but it seemed to be, the perfect family. Unfortunately, perfection is always fragile. I stood in the French window, stunned for a few seconds, then smiled and shook my head, thinking that she was probably mocking herself for her wandering life. At that moment, I didn't realize that I was greeting the door with my own hands, not a simple sister, but a storm that was about to devour my marriage. I've always considered myself a lucky woman, a caring husband, a smart son, and now a long-lost sister, Lily. The puzzle of life seemed to be complete. However, this sense of completeness did not last long. Lily checked into the guest room. On those days, she was always walking around the house in relaxed loungewear, as if she had made it her own home. Sometimes it was a short t-shirt and hot pants, sometimes it was a loose suspender skirt, and occasionally even a loose shirt, and went downstairs. I didn't think much of it. After all, she was only 25 years old, young, free, and uninhibited. I even felt that her presence made the family more vibrant. But I gradually found that Michael's eyes seemed to be drawn to her. It was a weekend morning, and I was busy frying eggs in the kitchen. Through the half-closed kitchen door, I saw Lily come downstairs, her hair still damp, apparently fresh from the shower. She was wearing nothing but a gray tank top and sweatpants, with a towel draped over her shoulders. Yawning as she walked, she went straight to the dining table to pour a glass of orange juice. Michael was sitting there reading the newspaper. I saw him look up. His eyes subconsciously stopped for 2 seconds, then quickly lowered, pretending to continue reading the financial page. For a moment, his movements were stiff and obvious. Lily didn't notice anything, just sat across from him naturally and talked casually. Brother-in-law, has your investment company been busy lately? I saw a lot of volatility in the stock market on the news. Michael coughed lightly, raised his head, and said in a calm tone, well, I can handle it. That's amazing. Lily put the straw between her lips, smiling faintly. The spatula in my hand paused, and I had an inexplicable feeling in my heart. But I quickly reassured myself maybe I was too sensitive. Michael has always been a restrained person and doesn't do anything out of line. However, that was just the beginning. I noticed that they were talking more and more. At the dinner table, Lily would always ask Michael questions about finance, about New York, about his work. Her eyes were adoring, and the light even made me feel dazzling. And Michael, although still calm on the surface, his answer was more patient and meticulous than mine. At one point I laughed and teased, Lily, Why don't you just go to Michael's for an internship? See how interested you are in these things. Lily blinked and smiled slyly. Maybe, but I'd rather learn directly from my brother-in-law. I just laughed at the time, not digging into it. But there was a hint of unease in my heart. One night, I couldn't sleep, and I went downstairs to pour a glass of milk. But I accidentally saw the garden lights on. I gently walked to the window, through the tulle curtains, and saw Lily and Michael sitting side by side in the recliner. She hugged her knees, her cheeks were slightly red, and she was holding an unfinished glass of red wine in her hand. Michael didn't drink, just listened to her quietly. Sometimes I really envy you. Lily's voice was soft, but it reached my ears clearly. Your marriage, your family, looks so perfect. I've been drifting, but I don't know what I want. Michael was silent for a while and whispered, life is not perfect forever. Everyone will be confused at times. Lily looked up, her eyes bright and almost provocative. What about you, Michael? Will you be confused? I saw through the curtain that her face was only a few centimeters away from him. That kind of closeness made me breathe. Michael didn't retreat, but slowly looked away. It's late, it's time for you to rest. Lily was silent for a moment, then suddenly smiled. Okay, listen to you. She got up and turned to go back to the house. Before leaving, she paused at the door, looked back at him, smiling ambiguously and mysteriously. Michael was still sitting on the recliner, motionless. That scene, like a needle in my heart. I went back to the bedroom, feeling uneasy. I wanted to question. I wanted to ask. I wanted to shout out the fear in my heart. Is there something between them? But when I pushed open the bedroom door and saw Michael lying on the bed, eyes closed, breathing smoothly, I couldn't say it. I told myself, this is just my heart. Lily is my sister. She can't betray me. Michael is my husband, and he is even less likely to do that. But why am I getting more and more scared? A few days later, on a rainy night, I worked overtime temporarily and arrived home near midnight. The living room lights were on, and the air was filled with the scent of red wine and wet flowers. I changed my coat and was about to go upstairs when I suddenly heard muffled conversations coming from the study. I held my breath and approached lightly. The door was open, and I saw the scene through the gap. Lily sat at the desk, her face drunk, but her eyes were bright. Her hand fell on Michael's arm, gently tracing his muscle lines. Michael, you know, sometimes I wish it was me who met you. Her voice was so low that it was almost seductive. Her lips were only a few centimeters away from him. I saw Michael's hands tremble slightly, and he closed his eyes as if restraining himself. But for a moment, he didn't push her away. The distance between them was so dangerous that I could suffocate. If I had been one step later, maybe they would have. I pushed the door open violently. What are you doing? My voice tore through the air. The study suddenly quieted. Lily's face turned pale for a moment, but she quickly regained her innocent expression and let go. Sister, don't misunderstand. I just drank too much. Just say it casually. Michael stood up, cold sweat on his forehead. Nothing. I interrupted him, my voice trembling. I saw it with my own eyes. Do I need an explanation? Tears blurred my vision. At that moment, I felt the whole world was collapsing.